Welcome to the Empowered by Evidence podcast. Today we're talking about evidence-based natural health and how to find natural health products that work and you can trust. You will discover clinically proven natural health products developed, manufactured and recommended by healthcare professionals globally. This episode is brought to you by Empowered by Evidence, EBE, a non-profit whose purpose is to assist global consumers and healthcare professionals choose natural health products with specific evidence. EBE's message is simple. With highly variable natural health products, evidence is product specific. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the EBE Podcast, brought to you by Empowered by Evidence, EBE, where we explore clear, practical ways to apply evidence in the real world. In this first episode, you'll meet your hosts, Nigel Pollard and Michael Thomsen. Nigel Pollard is chair of the board of directors of Empowered by Evidence, a New York-based non-profit with a bold vision to bring evidence-based natural health products into mainstream healthcare. With more than 22 years of chief executive experience and leadership across multiple organizations, Nigel brings deep expertise in turning vision into impact. Your interviewer is Michael Thomsen, who is now collaborating with EBE. Michael is the creator of the Phytotherapy Desk Reference, a major resource in herbal medicine education. To launch the podcast, Michael sits down with Nigel for a founder's conversation, an honest behind-the-scenes discussion about EBE's mission, the evidence-based approach to natural health, and what's ahead for the organisation and its community.
Hi Nigel, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you very much. It's a lovely sunny day here in Sydney.
Great. Well, it is a little bit sunny here as well, but we're still waiting for summer to arrive in Tasmania. Anyway, I'm doing great. I'm really keen to know why you started EBE and what EBE is all about. Nigel, you could have retired. You could have spent your weekends, pruning your roses, but you haven't. I want to know, what did you see in the natural health product space that made you feel a foundation like Empowered by Evidence needed to exist? Was there a specific moment or perhaps a pattern that pushed you over the line to start EBE?
I was driven initially by recognizing how confusing it is. Even for myself, I've been in the sector now for 27 years. And I'm confused about the products, and healthcare professionals and consumers are not really able to make an informed choice of products based on evidence. It's all driven by myths and misunderstandings. And as a result as well, the sector's really fragmented. So there's great work being done all over the world in different types of natural health, but it's not coordinated. And we're only really, as a sector, as strong as our weakest link. So the idea actually started at a conference in Canada in 2011. And we invited people who were at the conference. There were maybe 300 or so people at the scientific conference to a small discussion about specific evidence and clinical evidence. And the room couldn't fit everybody who wanted to talk about it. And that was really a moment for me when I realized that this is a problem everywhere in the world. And it's a problem faced by everyone involved with the industry as well.
And it's a worldwide thing. This is what's so important here, because you can't do this in isolation, country by country. It has to be a worldwide effort. And I think that's a real focus, very important focus for EBE. All right, so let's talk about some of the core concepts and ideas. EBE often emphasizes that evidence is product specific. What does that mean in practice? And why is this so important for both consumers and healthcare professionals?
Well, there's a lot of evidence out there, and every year there are more and more publications around natural health products. But this evidence relates to specific products. And the reason why that's important is there's a lot of variability in natural health products. And so if healthcare professionals and consumers want to use the actual products with the highest level of evidence, then they need to select specific products.
This concept has actually been developing in probiotics for quite a while, and is a similar situation with herbal medicines. In probiotics, what they're saying is that they are strain specific, so not just a species of bacteria, but actually the specific substrain that a particular product is based on. All right, so that makes a lot of sense. Now, something about the foundation itself. Why did you choose a non-profit structure for the foundation? And how does that help you achieve your independence and trust with the community?
Well, we thought that to do this, we really needed to be able to make an impact and sort of have a degree of moral authority to speak. And I think it's critical for healthcare professionals to have these independent, unbiased sources. So there's no commercial influence on the advice that's being received. We found that being a non-profit, even though it's quite a complicated thing to be, gives us much more authority. It means that people can trust us not being commercially biased. We make no profits on any sales of products or anything like that. So we think this is the thing that gives us the critical factor, and that is that the main misunderstanding underneath all of our sector that a clinical trial on a special product containing a herb or other natural ingredient, like you mentioned, a probiotic, is relevant to all products containing that herb or ingredient. This is not true, and the reason it's not true is that these products vary so much that you can't extrapolate evidence from one version of the product and say it applies to a completely different version. And a good example of that is a wine. A wine is also a complex product with many components to it. And a wine that wins a global prize somewhere in the world doesn't mean that everything made from grapes is the same as that prize-winning wine. And herbal medicines are even more complicated than wines to make. So that's why the evidence is product specific.
Can you walk us through EBE's process for linking a product people can buy today in their shops to the product that was actually used in the published clinical trial?
Together with our global expert team, we've developed an independent process to critically assess the clinical evidence behind a product, as well as the rigor of its formulation and the consistent batch-to-batch quality. So these are the two pillars. So we need to be able to assess that the clinical evidence says something valuable clinically, and that evidence is reproducible from batch to batch. So a product that passes our product accreditation has been demonstrated effective with the best product evidence we have, which is randomized controlled studies. And also, there's essentially the same every batch. So that means the raw material equivalence is established, the active ingredient, that's reproducible every batch, and then the finished product itself, whether it's a tablet or a syrup or a ointment or whatever it is, that's equivalent to what was used in the clinical trials. So that is really important that both pillars are included.
I think in future podcasts, we should explore this further. What is meant by standardization? What is quality control, quality assurance? And basically, how do the companies achieve this level of transparency, accountability, and consistency with their manufacturing? So Nigel, what counts as evidence at EBE? What are the minimum evidence and reproducibility requirements to be accredited? For instance, clinical trials or same as the trial product, what does it all mean? And what do you look for beyond the minimum when you accredit a new product?
What we do is we review the clinical trials for their design, the statistics used in the study, the identity of the exact product used. And then we also carefully examine the control of the raw material, the manufacturing processes, and the finished product formulation to establish the link between the trialed product and the brand on the market. That linkage is now across more than 70 countries around the world, so people can find that particular brand. Now, the minimum evidence requirements are that. Of course, beyond this, we require documentation that establishes all of the processes that constitute the reproducibility of the product. And that is actually the hardest part for an applicant product, to provide all of that documentation, because sometimes the company might do its best endeavors, but it is not able to prove that the product is equivalent from batch to batch. So that's what we require, that they have proof that they can show us that it's equivalent between batches.
In that process, independence is really critical, independence of the EBE, and also any potential conflict of interest. How do you protect the integrity of this assessment, especially around this conflict of interest, but also the independence of the assessors and pressure from the applicants or industry stakeholders?
Well, this is a big question. So it took us 3 years to develop the process, and we put it out as a proposal to the industry and to researchers around 2016. And then it was formally launched in 2018 as a draft to interested parties. And we gave a year for feedback on the process. So it's very transparent what we do, including the rules about the selection of assessors to ensure that they are independent. So they're required to make a statement, like a legal declaration about what their personal interests are, who they've worked for, and they're not allowed to have worked for an applicant company or a competitor for within the previous 3 years. And to your point about pressure, while applicants and stakeholders do respect the independence of EBE, because obviously that's very important for any company that's been accredited, that they have the authority of our independence. The application assessment is done by independent board members and an expert advisory board, and they're all extremely experienced in this area.
Since launching the independent assessment program of EBE, what outcomes are you most proud of? And what have you learned from the fact that many applicants don't meet the standard yet? I believe there are 12 products that have been accredited so far.
We're really proud of the fact that HCPs and consumers in over 70 countries can, for the first time, find natural health products with specific evidence. This, as I mentioned in the earlier questions, this has been a topic that even I walk into a health food store or a pharmacy and I can't tell you which products have got specific evidence. And so just that we've got this tool available for anyone worldwide is really fantastic. We're so proud of that. And while so far most of the applications have failed to meet our standards, we've also been able to provide advice on how these products can be improved. So mostly the products are lacking data to control the variability of the products. So surprisingly, it's not the clinical trial evidence that's the problem, and that's often the most expensive part, is making sure the product is the same from batch to batch. So that's a big learning, and we're trying to do a lot more to help the industry to make the products reproducible.
Really guides the companies through that process if they want to, and it may take a year or two, but they can achieve a high accreditation if they work directly with EBE.
Absolutely. And we're also wanting to provide educational resources for the industry themselves. So to help them develop products and to develop a pathway to create reproducible products before they do the expense of clinical trials. Because it's a waste of money to do a clinical trial on a product you can't make the next batch because it's not a reproducible piece of science. So just getting the house in order at the beginning is really critical for the industry. So we're helping out with that.
To find out more about the accreditation process and to find the products in your country, people will just have to go to the website and find all the information there. And the website is empoweredbyevidence.org.
That's correct. And you can see there's a tab there that says accredited products, and then you can type in the product name and it will tell you what it's called in your country and which distributor distributes that product and where to get it.
That sounds incredible. That's a rare thing in our industry, I think. So EBE is not an overnight success by the sound of it. I'd like to know what parts of this mission keeps you energized, because I have seen your energy and the energy you put into this. Is it the scientific rigor that you love, consumer empowerment, improving industry standards, bridging the mainstream healthcare? What is it for you?
Great question, Michael. Thank you. I really believe in the potential of natural health to address many of the chronic health challenges we face. We know already that something like 70% of the world's population relies on natural health products. The only way I can see that these solutions can be embraced by the health system as a whole is around transparency and evidence. So we need to build more trust in these kinds of products and more quality, reproducibility, and better evidence to reach their full potential. So I think that's what gets me up in the morning.
Right. All right, so 10 years in the making to get to where we are now. Over the next 3 to 5 years, what would success look like for EBE? Are you looking for more accredited products, broader country coverage, practitioner professional initiatives and education, policy influence, or something different?
I think we've got a very simple goal, actually, and it's really just to roll out what we've already done, these independent educational resources to healthcare professionals globally. So our goal in the next 3 years is to have 10,000 healthcare professionals as part of our community. And through those 10,000 healthcare professionals, this will mean millions of patients, consumers, will be empowered to choose natural health products with specific evidence. So that's our goal. Everything else comes along with that, which is supporting achieving this 10,000 healthcare professionals being able to make informed choices.
Nigel, I think this is amazing. Thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing our conversation in the upcoming podcast. What have you got in mind for the podcast moving forward?
What we wanted to do was really a couple of things. The first is to keep people updated on new things that are coming out, because there's a huge explosion of new research being published every month. So we want to do a little snapshot of that new research. And then we also want to talk to some of the people that are driving that research, so the researchers all over the world, to get their experience understanding of what the research they've done really means. So we want it to be very conversational, something that people can listen to or watch over a cup of coffee as a break during their day. So that's the model that we have for the podcast.
Sounds great. Wonderful. See you at the next podcast.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you found this conversation valuable, there's so much more waiting for you behind the scenes. By becoming a subscriber, you'll unlock exclusive access to a wealth of resources designed to deepen your knowledge and practice. This includes detailed show notes and extended interviews that dive even further into the science of evidence-based natural health. Subscribers also gain access to our comprehensive educational programs and the Phytotherapy Desk Reference, an essential world-class database for herbal medicine clinical practice and research. Beyond the data, you'll be joining a growing community of healthcare professionals, researchers, and thought leaders who are all committed to raising the bar for the industry. To explore these subscriber benefits and join the movement for evidence-based natural health, visit us at www.empoweredbyevidence.org. Until next time, stay empowered by evidence.